Welcome to Headstones and Microphones, where we use AI to step into the past through a researched first-person simulation of history's most interesting people. I am your host, Calvin. While we've added some creative storytelling, our goal is to inspire your own study of these fascinating lives. Now, let's meet our guest. I am absolutely electric today because sitting across from me is a comedy powerhouse. For those who may somehow not know who you are you?
I'm John Belushi. You might know me from Saturday Night Live, or maybe you've seen me wearing a toga in Animal House, or driving the Bluesmobile as Joliet Jake Blues. I'm just a guy who loved to make people laugh, and put every ounce of energy I had into everything I did.
A legend. Let's go back to the very beginning. When and where were you born?
I came into the world on January 24, 1949, right in the Windy City, Chicago, Illinois.
And what was your given name at birth?
It was John Adam Belushi. Simple, strong, and ready for action.
Is there a story behind your birth name?
Not a wild story, but it represents my roots. My father, Adam, was an Albanian immigrant who came over to build a life. Being named after him and carrying that middle name was a point of pride for our family and our heritage.
That's a great foundation. What was your hometown like growing up?
Well, I grew up mostly in Wheaton, Illinois. It was a pretty quiet suburban place back then, very different from the chaos of the city. It was the kind of place where you could play outside until the streetlights came on, but for a kid like me, it sometimes felt a little too quiet.
I can imagine you shaking things up. What was your family life like?
It was loud and full of life. My parents ran restaurants, so they worked incredibly hard. I had my brothers, Jim and Billy, and my sister, Marion. We were a tight-knit Albanian-American family. My dad was tough, but hard-working, and my mom was the heart of the house. We definitely learned the value of a dollar and the importance of family.
What kind of kid were you?
Oh, I was a handful. I was the class clown, but I was also an athlete. I played football. I was a linebacker and the captain of the team. I was a bit of a contradiction, the guy who would tackle you on the field and then do a backflip or a funny impression in the locker room to make you laugh. I just had this massive engine that never wanted to stop.
What were your biggest fears growing up?
Honestly, boring people and being bored. I had this fear of just blending into the background and living a life that didn't have any oomph in it. I wanted to be noticed. I wanted to be loud.
Well, you definitely achieved that. What did you dream of becoming as a child?
For a long time, I thought about being a professional football player. I loved the physicality of it. But then I discovered the drums and acting, and the stage started calling my name a lot louder than the gridiron did.
What were some of your favorite activities in school?
Football, of course. But I really lived for the variety shows and the drama club. I loved being in a band, too. Anything that involved an audience and a bit of performance was where I wanted to be.
What was your first job?
Helping out at my dad's restaurants. I washed dishes and did whatever needed doing. It wasn't glamorous, but it taught me that if you want something, you've got to work for it.
Was there a moment where you realized you were different from everyone else?
I think it was when I realized I could control a room just by changing my face or my voice. I could take a room full of serious people and have them falling out of their chairs with one look. Not everyone can do that, and once I felt power, I knew I had to use it.
What's a decision that changed everything for you, but felt small at the time?
Joining an improvisational group called The Second City in Chicago. At the time, it just seemed like a fun way to keep performing, but that's where I really honed my craft. It led me to National Lampoon and eventually to SNL. It was the spark that started the whole fire.
What was your biggest break?
It has to be when I was cast as one of the original Not Ready for Primetime players on Saturday Night Live in 1975. That show changed the world, and it certainly changed my life. Suddenly, I wasn't just a guy from Chicago, I was in everyone's living room every Saturday night.
What were your biggest struggles before success?
Money was tight, for sure. When I was starting out in New York with National Lampoon, we were all just scraping by. There's also that constant struggle of wondering if people get your humor. You're putting yourself out there, and sometimes the silence from an audience is the loudest thing in the world.
Did you ever consider quitting?
Never. I didn't have a plan B. I knew I had to make it in show business because I wasn't sure I was fit for much else. I had too much energy for a 9 to 5.
Were there any specific daily habits or routines that you feel are essential to your success?
I wouldn't call them healthy routines, but I was obsessive. When I was working on a character like the Samurai or Jake Blues, I lived in it. I listened to music constantly, blues, soul, rock, to get the rhythm of the performance. My routine was basically 100% intensity all the time.
What job would you have had if fame never happened?
I probably would have ended up coaching high school football or running a restaurant like my dad, something where I could still be a leader and talk to people all day.
What was your life like before fame?
It was simpler. I was just a guy with a great girlfriend, my wife Judy, who was with me through everything, and a bunch of funny friends trying to make a name for ourselves. We had a lot of fun just being young and broke in the city.
How did relationships change after success?
It gets complicated. Suddenly, everyone wants a piece of you, or they treat you differently. You have to figure out who's there for John and who's there for Bluto. But my real friends, the guys like Dan Aykroyd, they stayed true. We were brothers.
Did fame bring happiness?
It brought excitement. It brought opportunities I never dreamed of. But happiness is a tricky word. It brought a lot of pressure, too. I loved the roar of the crowd, but the silence afterward could be tough.
What was the downside of becoming famous?
The lack of privacy. You can't just go out and be a person anymore. And the expectations. Everyone expects you to be on all the time. They want you to smash a beer can against your head or do something crazy the moment they see you.
What misconceptions did people have about you?
People thought I was exactly like the characters I played. Just a wild, out-of-control party animal with no brain. In reality, I was very serious about my work. I studied film. I loved music history. And I was a perfectionist when it came to comedy.
What was your darkest moment?
There were times when the pressure to perform in the lifestyle of the industry just felt like it was crushing me. Trying to stay at the top is a lot harder than getting there.
What past regrets did you carry that you spoke about?
I think I regretted not slowing down sometimes. I lived life at such a breakneck speed that I missed the chance to just breathe and enjoy the moment without looking for the next big laugh or the next project.
What's something people misunderstood about your life?
How much I truly cared about people. I could be loud and abrasive, but I loved my friends and family deeply. I wanted everyone around me to have as much fun as I was having.
Tell me about a time when everything went wrong and how did you handle it?
There were plenty of nights on SNL where a sketch was falling apart or a guest host wasn't clicking. You handle it with energy. If the joke isn't working, you use your body, you use your voice, you do a physical stunt, you do whatever it takes to save the moment. You never let the audience see you sweat.
Did fame and fortune change your life?
It changed my surroundings for sure. I went from a small apartment to nice houses and fast cars. But at my core, I was still the same kid from Wheaton who just wanted to play his drums and make people laugh.
What personal battles were you fighting privately?
I struggled with the temptation that comes with the industry. When you have that much energy and that much access, it's hard to find the off switch. I was always fighting to find a balance between the work I loved and the lifestyle that came with it.
Who had the biggest influence on your life?
My wife, Judy, she was my rock. And professionally, Dan Aykroyd. He was my partner in crime, my creative soulmate. He saw things in me that I didn't even see in myself.
What was life like in your final years?
I was busy. I was moving away from SNL and into movies. I was exploring music more with the Blues Brothers. It was a whirlwind of filming, recording, and traveling. I felt like I was finally becoming the leading man I wanted to be.
What were you working on in your career before you passed away?
I was working on a few scripts and ideas. I had recently done Neighbors and Continental Divide, where I got to try some different things, and I was looking for the next big project that would challenge me.
When and where did you pass away?
It was March 5, 1982, at the Chateau Marmont in Hollywood, California.
What happened?
I was only 33 years old. I had been pushing myself way too hard, living that high-intensity life I mentioned, and my body just couldn't take it anymore. It was a tragic end to a very fast-paced journey.
What's a random fact about you most people have never heard?
I was actually quite a good cook. Growing up in the restaurant business, I knew my way around a kitchen. I loved making big meals for my friends.
What's the craziest rumor ever told about you?
Oh, there were so many. People thought I lived in a state of constant destruction, that I'd wreck every room I walked into. While I was energetic, I wasn't quite the tornado people imagined 24/7.
What was your most unique habit?
I used to take naps in the middle of the set or in random places just to recharge my quote battery because I gave so much energy during a scene. I could sleep anywhere for 10 minutes and wake up ready to go again.
What was your favorite food?
I loved a good burger, but honestly, nothing beat my mom's traditional Albanian cooking. That was home to me.
Did you have a favorite restaurant?
I love the old diners in Chicago and New York. The greasy spoons where you could get a cup of coffee and a sandwich at 3 a.m. That was my habitat.
What was your favorite book?
I wasn't a huge reader, but I loved anything about the history of the blues or the lives of great performers. I was a student of the greats who came before me.
Did you have any known rivalries?
In comedy, everyone is a bit competitive, but it was usually a friendly rivalry. We all wanted to have the funniest sketch of the night. It pushed us to be better.
Tell us a story nobody talks about.
People don't often talk about how much I loved to just play the drums. I'd sit in with bands whenever I could. It wasn't about being quote-unquote John Belushi. It was just about the music. I remember sitting in with some local bands in small clubs and just getting lost in the beat. Those were some of my happiest moments.
What's your funniest behind-the-scenes moment?
Filming the cafeteria scene in Animal House. A lot of that, see if you can guess what I am now, I'm a pimple stuff, was just me messing around. The reactions from the other actors were genuine, because they didn't know what I was going to do next.
Did you ever prank someone?
All the time, mostly just physical comedy pranks, popping out of closets or doing ridiculous voices to scare the SNL writers. Comedy is a 24-hour job.
What was the most outlandish purchase you made?
I bought a big farm on Martha's Vineyard. For a kid from the suburbs of Chicago, owning a piece of land like that felt pretty outlandish and amazing.
What advice would you give people chasing success?
Give it everything you've got. Don't hold back. If you're going to do something, do it loud and do it with passion. But also, find people you trust to keep you grounded. You need a Dan or a Judy in your life.
John, this has been an absolute blast. Do you have any closing remarks about the interview or the stories you shared that you would like to share with the listeners before signing off?
Just that it was a joy to look back. Life is short, so make it loud and make people laugh. Thank you so much for having me, Calvin. It's been great to have one more audience to play for.
What a ride. From the not ready for primetime players to the bluesmobile, John Belushi lived life at maximum volume and reminded us all that sometimes you just have to go for it. And that wraps up another conversation from Beyond the Grave. Thanks for joining us on the Headstones and Microphones podcast. Remember, legends may die, but their stories never do. Please help spread the word by sharing and following the podcast.